Alright, what's poppin', people? We're back. And I decided today that we're gonna do another team building video. Y'all seem to enjoy the last one. And I think that these kinds of videos are always pretty fun to make, because you get a little bit of insight into the creative process that can go into building a team. And of course, maybe pick up a few rules, so to speak, along the way. As per usual, if you do enjoy these kinds of videos, always good to leave a like. That's the easiest way to show that you're enjoying it. Comment if you want. Subscribe if you're not already subscribed, by the way. I see too many of y'all not subscribed. And if you were willing to put up with me for the 45 seconds so far that you already have, well, hey. More good is yet to come. Anyhow, today, I decided that we're going to build some hyper offense. Why? Because hyper offense to me, and I've said this multiple times in the past, is the easiest way to get into a new format. Hyper offense teams dictate the pace of game really, really well, and they dictate a very fast one. And so if you're just trying to get a whole bunch of new games because you need to learn a format really quickly, or you just want to learn a format really quickly, well, a hyper offense team is really easy to use because odds are your games are not going to last much more than 20 turns. So, you can load up multiple at the same time even. And they don't really require nearly as much thought, maybe, as piloting a bulkier build, like, you know, a balance or a bulky offense or a stall, etc. And if we're building hyper offense, there is one Pokemon that I will always recommend to you to use, and that is Farigiraf. And why is that? Well, Farigiraf's got some very, very fun double dance sets. And I think these sets are just really, really strong. I've gone over this a lot in the videos, but it's always felt as though Farigiraf gets a lot of undeserved disrespect. Farigiraf is an absolute beast. This mon, in every game I've used it in, has been able to put in some serious work because a lot of the time teams just aren't very well equipped for dealing with it. It's just bulky enough to find a decent amount of setup opportunities, and its coverage is frankly pretty nice between stored power and in whatever Terra type Terra Blast you do. Even if you just keep it normal and you don't ever actually use your Terra, it ends up being pretty impactful a lot of the time. Now, if we're talking about Terra types, there are a good few that are worth doing. I think Fire is cool. Helps you versus Steel types, of course, and even gives you a move for Frostmoth. I think Fairy is also really good, although if you go Fairy... well, I was gonna say if you go Fairy, go Dazzling Gleam, but honestly, since they're the same move, it's not even really that important. Because you retain Stab before you Terra, and then you just get Stab on this spill after Terra, so it's pretty good either way. And then, others that are okay, I mean, Fighting is fine, gives you a move for Chansey, so if they T-Wave you and then start trying to beat you down with Seismic Toss, you might still be able to do some good damage. Yeah, those are the main ones that I would suggest. I think we'll keep it with Fairy. I do really value coverage for Dark types. Well, let's go Fire. I want to try Fire. And for EVs, we could just do a pretty general max. I don't think there's any issue with this. There's an argument to be had for other variants. I'm gonna do this. Now, in terms of the EVs, I mean, you kind of end up needing Timid if you want to outspeed all of the Choice Scarf users. I do think Modest is still good. I think you can even lower the speed EV amount to where you're just outspeeding Choice Scarf Passimian. I don't think that's too bad. But we'll rock with something like this. Now, what's the main point when you're building a hyper offense team? Well, what you should have happen is you should have it so that you can chain your setup sweepers in such a way that you're getting the most synergy out of them possible because you're having them constantly breaking down checks for each other. It's not really like an offensive core where you're looking at maybe pivots, right? And you want this mon to be able to lure in a Pokemon for another so that you're pivoting into a good matchup. With hyper offense, it's more just, say for example, I got my Farigiraf out here and I'm just like, yaddy dotty dotty, me bring in your Copperajah with the threat of a sweep, and then I Terra Blast with my Fire type Terra, and I do 1,000,000, and then maybe I've got like a Frostmoth on my team that's now got a much better matchup. A little different than that. Also, just thought that combo would actually be really sick with Terra fighting, because then you also learn Chansey. Yeah, so we're gonna try that. So we're gonna try this sort of Terra combo. But it's that kind of idea that you want to go for a lot of the time. You want to make sure that your setup sweepers synergize in a real nice way. And you know what we'll do? We'll go with Terra, maybe ground. Maybe fire is... You know what? Yeah, let's get our Terra Fire here. Terra Fire is cool because it gives you a resistance to Copperach's Heavy Slam. It's still going to do 1,000,000 to you, but it might not OHKO you at least. I'd have to actually run the calcs on it, but I have seen Fire run. There's something else that it helps. Oh, right, the mirror matchup. That's also a big part of it. So it's nice for that. And it's going to be our little offensive core here. Weakness Policy, Farigiraf with Double Dance, and in Quiver Dance, Frostmoth. These two will work well together, and we'll still have room with our other setup sweepers to get some goodness brewing. Now, from here, there are a couple questions you ask yourself. You want to talk about what kind of hyper offense are you going for? You going for hazard stack? You going for dual screens? You going for maybe even just like one lead hazard mon and then 5 setup sweepers? There are a lot of options here. Now, dual screens I'm going to cross off the board immediately. I think dual screens sucking in you because we don't have Light Clay available to us. And our best screen setter is more Grim, which is just terrible. So I like the idea of just getting lead hazards. You should know this bird by now, Bombardier. Bombardier is very, 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 very nice. It's a nice little lead. It's pretty fast. It's got knockoff. It's got a lot of moves that you want out of a lead Pokemon. Of course, you have Stealth Rock. You've got Taunt. Like we said, you got Knockoff. And then there are a couple options, I think, for the last move. I think U-Turn is okay. You know, keeps the Mon from having a KO itself to pivot. But I also do really like Memento. And I think Memento on this Mon is very useful, especially when you're talking about setup sweepers like maybe Farigiraf and Frostmoth that require a couple turns to get going with their boosts before they are really posing that sweeping threat. Even something like Frostmoth does appreciate having a little bit of extra safety when going for the setup sweep. So we're going to rock with these two guys. Now if we're thinking about other setup sweepers, again, we're talking about overwhelming special walls, even just the steel types of the tier. So there are a couple options we could go with here. I do like Veluza. I think Veluza is very cool. Veluza would also help maybe bring in Vaporeon or even Chansey. The only worry with Veluza is it is super Terra reliant to really do what it wants to do. But I think we could try it. Let's do it. This is very similar to the Hyper Offense team that Tugkey passed me a while back. Just with like these three. But don't worry, let me cook. Let me cook. I don't know. Do we want Citrus Berry? Because I'm thinking about the set that I want to run on this. And I do feel like there's an argument to be made to not even bother with Citrus. I think you still need it. I think you don't want to be too low with Fillet Away. We're going to go Stored Power. We still run Terra Blast. We're going to recover. We're going to this little bulky Veluza. Now, naturally, you do need enough speed to outrun Passimian. You need to always hit at least 215. Maybe since you're bulky, it's not as important. But I don't want to play that game of risking Passimian being stupid. You know? We run this nice little set right here. Fillet Away is not a move that has a limit on the amount of times you can use it. And so I'm allowed to Fillet Away repeatedly. And with Recover, I keep getting back my health too, so I can just keep boosting perpetually. So I think this sounds like a lot of fun. Maybe even more speed from a Boss Diff now that I think about it. So Choice Scarf a Boss Diff, 295 before the boost. And it's like 433.5, I think? 442.5? Oh, the mental math is not coming to me right now. I think it's 442.5 though. So we're going to need a little bit more speed. We're going to need like this much. And put the rest into our defense. And so we're going for 222 speed. Now this is just when I'm going to check out if I get more mileage out of this. Okay, they're literally the same. So this works just as well as the other EV spread works. Sometimes you do want to make sure that you're getting the correct stats out of your EV spreads. This should be fine. So we got 3 Pokemon, again, like we're talking about earlier with making sure you can chain your setup sweepers one into the other. We got Farigiraf, Frostmoth, Veluza. The one worry is they're all using Terra Blast, so maybe get something that doesn't need to Terra. I could even just have like a fast mon. You know what I actually kind of like on here is Passimian, which isn't a hot take because it's Passimian, right? Like the mon is always going to be good no matter what. But I like Passimian as a mon that I don't have to set up with to potentially win the game. I just have it around. It's a good form of speed control, of course, very fast Pokemon. You're even talking about a mon at that point that actively just beats Steel types one-on-one without the need to Terra, which I think is also pretty good. It also draws in Poison types, which potentially gives room for setting up to Farigiraf and Veluza, which I think is also pretty good. It's nice to have multiple ways to facilitate that. So let's run a Passimian here. Something I do want to iterate real quick here. It is important when looking at HO to understand that a lot of the time you do still need to learn how to play the HO. And this applies to any team, but I think Hyper Offense maybe gets a little bit too much of a rep for being brain dead and really easy to play. And to an extent, that's correct. Like, Hyper Offense is not some super complex playstyle that's going to require much learning. But you do still need to be aware that with Hyper Offense teams, you want to make sure that you learn the sequences so you can figure out, okay, my opponent's got this defensive core. What kind of order should I be looking to play my setup sweepers in to get them the best chance to sweep or just even, set up successfully? That kind of mentality is really important to keep even when using a playstyle like HO. Now the last month, so here's my take with HO. I've had some tough experiences with Sandaconda when using it, because Conda is just really annoying with Glare. Glare Conda makes it really annoying for these builds to actually find the room to set up and not just get paralysis spread across them repeatedly. So if I'm thinking about a setup sweeper that helps against paralysis, there's obviously going to be 2 really notable examples here, Rotom and a Coil Eel. I guess now the question just becomes, which of those do I prefer? Even Jolteon would be fine too. Ooh, I also just had another idea. Rotom Frost could be pretty cool. I don't think I like Rotom Frost here, but it could still be cool. Why do I not like Rotom Frost here? The answer is basically just Rotom Frost introduces that double ice type, and ice type's defensive utility is kind of notoriously awful. I'm okay with double ice if it involves a Bomb of Snow, especially with them buffing Hail. Changing it to Snow, making it give a defense boost. I think that helps compensate a little bit, but it's still kind of tough. What do we think would be the best mon here? Also, Passimian could easily be like a Toxicroak. I could actually see this being Croak and it being a little bit better even, because Croak gives the water immunity. You know what? I've convinced myself. Let's do Toxicroak here. What's nice about Croak as well is Toxicroak can potentially just get rid of Sandaconda. You know what I'm even gonna try? I'm gonna try Terra Fight. No, I don't think I will. Terra Fire would be cool for Drifblim. Let's just do tried and true Terra Dark. We'll keep it simple. But I like that Croak does a whole bunch of damage to Sandaconda at +2. That just makes it a lot easier for the team, because if I can have a consistent way to draw in Sandaconda and, almost remove it from the game, that makes it a lot easier to deal with. Bring it in versus Croak as I boost, and then I CC and do like 80 or something, however much a +2 life orb close combat does. It's not like the current mons are worried about Sandaconda walling them, but they are worried about getting paralyzed. They're all speed boosters. So it is nice to have that out. And then the last mon. Again, I still do want the mon that can like come in and make use of not Toxcroak, make use of Sandaconda being kind of passive. Because I don't want to just have 6 mons that get paralyzed by glare and then that be that. That doesn't sound too good. That's an idea right there. That is an idea. Let me think. So the idea right now is unburden Drifblim. Let's think about this. So our setup supers put a lot of pressure on dark types. That's a really important thing to keep in mind. A lot of pressure put on dark types. Drifblim does offer me a Earthquake immunity that's maybe not going to be KO'd really early in the game. If I'm sub, I also just kind of wall Conda. Beyond Conda, by the way, like one thing I'm looking at that is kind of annoying for the team is in Electros. If Electros starts boosting, it could be dire. The nice thing though is, what is the Electros boosting versus? I'd love to hear it. That's just like the one thing I want to keep in mind. If somehow Eel were to find a turn, it could be problematic. You know what? Let's put a Drifblim on this team. Let's see. I want to see how I feel about it once it's actually put on the team. Does this still look right? No electric immunity, or not even immunity, no even electric resist is kind of crazy. I'm not sure that I vibe with it the most. But I mean, like, regular Rotom, is it checking electric types? No, not really. Not really. You check Rotom Fan, I guess. But opposing Rotom? Nope. Rotom Frost? Not really. Electros? You wish. It's not as if that kind of addition, where it still does what I want with the Sandaconda matchup, it doesn't really change that other matchup, so it's kind of the same no matter which way I'm going. This is hard to decide on. This is like really hard for me to decide on. Because I think Drifblim would be fun to use, but I also think maybe it'd be a little easier to get the mileage out of Drifblim if this was like an electric terrain type of team. Might still come back to it. This is the annoying part about team building. You have to ask yourself a lot of questions. You gotta make sure that your team goes the way you want it to. Also, I'm just looking at PU to see if anything like sparks interest in my mind, I guess. You know what? I will do the Drifblim slot. I think it's fun. We got a nice little Citrus Berry Drifblim here with the Unburden. For Terra type, that's a difficult question. Let's put the set in first. So we'd be Calm Mind, Shadow Ball, and then yeah, this is where the issue comes. Am I just gonna be Air Slash? Air Slash substitute maybe? That could work. I mean, Terra type here could also then be like Ground. And while, yeah, I don't have a way to hit Steels because I'm not running Terra Blast, I go Terra Ground just in case I need to flip the matchup against an electric type. I actually think this works. I like this. You know what? Let's do it. And we're going to go Modest. Now, with speed, I think, again, how much do we need for Veluza? 222. Which, again, I'm just hoping is right from a boss diff. I mean, there's other Scarfers that are faster, right? But once you get past base 85, there's not too many of those Scarfers, so this should be playable. Yeah, we'll do 222 as well for Blim. If we're wrong, then we're just going to be super wrong, and we'll dedicate entirely to it. But yeah, I think this is the team. I think it works. Just looking at it, let's get a game with the team even. I'll pause it while we search for one real quick. Be right back. Alright, and we are back. Also, I don't know if y'all noticed, but they added new mini sprites for the Generation 9 Pokemon, so that are in the style of the earlier gen, which I think is really cool. Our opponent's team is Sticky Web, so I'm leading Bombardier, and I'm saying no. This is a Mabostiff. So we knock here. Knock just in case it's Scarf. And it was Scarf. So we don't get our rocks, but we deny this thing from being able to revenge kill stuff. Also, I'll be honest, that's a misplay from me. I think actually setting up rocks might have been a little better. The reason I did what I did is because I kind of forgot speed tiers. But we're going to go Croak here. I'm going to Gunk Shot. We do revenge kill Mabostiff. Yeah, I'll be honest. I went for knock, misremembering speed tier. I still think it's an okay play. I'll change what I was saying. That was not a misplay, but in my head, I got the turns wrong. But yes, getting rid of the Scarf is super good. Now I don't have to worry about this outspeeding. So this is why we have the damage calc, right? And when you're learning with a new team, you do always want to make sure you make full use of this. Because that Bombardier did not take Stealth Rock. We'll assume no bulk. Sure. We do not actually guaranteed KO it. Wow. Why do you live? Why? Do I want damage on this? This mon's actually pretty annoying. I do. Hey! Hey! Stop that! Why'd that mon take only half? Why did it only take half? And yeah, okay, so he's physically defensive Bombardier. That's crazy. I thought something might have been amiss, but same time, it's like, do I really need to worry about that guy? So I could Sucker Punch here. I'm gonna go for it. Oh dear. So he's sub. So we're gonna go Frostmoth immediately. Immediately! And thankfully he does not get the paralysis. He's gonna probably fish for one still, as he actually goes for a nasty plot. Which is okay. I'll Giga Drain here just to get a little bit of HP back, because no matter what it'll break his substitute. And now here, I mean, I think we just Ice Beam. Also, things I didn't mention about Terra Fire earlier, one of the cool things is if this Metacham comes in, thinking that it revenge kills with Bullet Punch, it's sorely mistaken. Do I go for it here? I do. Yeah, so we turned into a fire type. Turned our quad weakness, not quad weakness, turned our weakness into a resist. And I don't know if we win the game here, but we definitely are gonna put a beating. This Ursa should take a good amount. Yeah, look at that damage. I'll go into Croak here. We're gonna have to Gunk Shot, which sucks. Okay. And Spide Ops is last. I don't know what Spide Ops will do. Hopefully get KO'd by a Gunk Shot. That is the hope. Ah, not bad. Not bad. I'll see. Apparently I'm 1400 plus on this account. Whoopsies. But yeah, I think that shows pretty well how the team works. We got our hazard up early. We also made sure to knock the potential Scarfer, just so I could ensure that I wasn't going to be revenge killed if I was out with, like, Moth, for example. And admittedly, I think a better play would have just been to set rocks turn 1 with Bombardier, because I have most of these mons EV to be faster than Mabostiff, even if it's Scarf. So, I think if anything, that was why I didn't like the play when I thought more on it, because there's not really an inherent need to get that knock. It's still an okay enough play, right? I mean, Croak wasn't worried about Mabostiff as much as it would have otherwise, because, you know, we're risking speed ties there. I just knew it wasn't a speed tie anymore once the Bombardier outsped. I guess that was good knowledge that I got, so there's something like that to take from it. But yeah, I think normally, I just set rocks turn 1 is probably going to be the better play. Set rocks. If you find out that you can't outspeed and get the knock, then okay. And that applies to any Pokemon. You know, of course, Bombardier, if I'm against another lead, I'll probably taunt turn 1, so, you know, if they led with, like, a Sandaconda, I'd always be taunting. Taunt and set rocks, and, like, knock. Some sequence like that. And then from there, once the Bombardier goes down, really it's just a matter of pick whatever setup sweeper matches up best against the opposing Pokemon. You know, maybe it's a Driftblim. Maybe you've taunted a Sandaconda and you can get Driftblim in for free and safely get a substitute. But that's going to be it for me. I hope y'all enjoyed this team building session. Hope y'all even enjoyed the one game we got. Till next time, hope you're staying safe. Hope you're having a great time. Doing whatever you do. I'll catch you later. Peace.